Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Circle of the World video. Today we'll be covering What If West Lives? And I am joined by my co-host,
Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey.
And I selected George.
The scenario is not too hard to fathom for this one, boys. West gets sick and injured and shit, but he lives. He doesn't get cancer or radiation poisoning and die.
I like to think he just becomes like a mini Glockter.
Well, does he though? I mean,
Why would he?
Because
he's so positive by the end.
If you get that seed radiation poisoning, then you're fucked. So
I think
you can't
that's
get
the
it anyway.
easy version of this theory. You know, everything happens as planned in the rest of the series, but like West kind of just like plays along with it. That's like the easy version. So now we can get into the crazy shit. Okay, so Wes would clearly see what Byers is doing, and he would be completely outside it because Byers doesn't give a shit about the generals because he just completely underestimates them.
Okay.
So he would and Byers would just disappear one day, and Wes would have him killed because he's fucking furious.
Would he bite Byers' nose off?
Probably rip his throat out with his teeth, you know?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Harrison, you want to get us back on track?
Hey, George was needing to get that out for a while. That's why I started laughing, because he's like, okay, now we can get to the good shit.
Yeah, I've been sitting on that one for a while.
It's like, if Byers is not an eater, he's going to get eaten. That's it. I'm done.
Wes is going to eat him. Yeah, so...
Too long didn't read Wes is an eater.
Well, you guys were just telling me how I don't go on enough rants, so there we go.
There you go. That's true.
And to be fair to George, there is a possibility that Wes, since Glockter's alive and Wes has, got the support of the army, there is a small chance that Wes would be like, you know what? He just fucking snaps, right? He's like, everybody's in threat, everybody's under control. Fuck this shit. I'm burning the banks down. The issue with that is the fact that West and Glockter doesn't even know the full scope of how deep Byers' plans and pockets go. Because at this time, he's got all the nobles on board. He's got all the banks on board. The nation is crippled. Because as much as we like to pretend like the army is, the Union Army is, unstoppable machine.
Competent.
Competent. The logistics behind that army was probably getting pretty shitty by the end of that, because that was like their last goal, was to push them out of Midderland. I mean,
let's be fair, they were probably shitty at the beginning.
And I think a lot
just deteriorated after that.
That's true. And I think a lot of the the common people, would not be okay with the military just doing a fucking, all right guys, we're gonna burn our only source of income.
No, exactly. And then we have somebody like West that comes along, and he's the only one who cares. Like all the way throughout before they're hanged, we get West just talking about how much, these people are starving. All the people in the camp are just completely disorganized. They haven't got this because of that, and they haven't got this because of this. And I love that line in Before They're Hanged, where he's like, even though it was hot in Gurkle, we never saw a man who couldn't fight because he didn't have a sword.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think like that really kind of defines West as a character, being for that kind of like overall good.
I have a question. What do you guys think about, so he doesn't die, right? Do you think Croy becomes the better person that he becomes by the time you see him in the Heroes?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see there is a profound effect in Last Argument of Kings, when Polder does his famous charge and he's dead, and then Croy obviously is taken aback by it, and then you see Croy supporting West when he was sick, when remember that whole thing where they shuffled him out of Glockter's office.
Yeah.
So do you think Croy's still a good guy? Like, he becomes a better person than what we saw from the first couple books? And also, if West is still in the picture, that means Brent doesn't become a Lord Marshal, and Brent doesn't get into the whole Breakers and Burners rebellion, right? Is that true? Is that what you guys think?
So Actually, no, I think no matter how you slice it, with West being alive, well, maybe not. It's hard to say how it exactly plays out with that, but I would say Brent was probably not to be a Lord Marshal, at least not at that point, and not like that, because he's just going to be on West's staff. So is Jallenhorm. Jallenhorm's not going to be promoted either.
Yeah, and I think Giselle is going to have a lot better, like a lot more sober counsel. Like, because he was the one person that he was looking forward to seeing on the close council, and he just never made it.
Right.
That
And West would probably counsel Giselle, being like, listen, Jallenhorm and Brent, they're great guys, but they're not this kind of material. They're not general material.
And I find it really interesting that he sort of set this up as this is sort of like a traditional alliance sort of relationship where, you've married my sister, so we're family now.
Yeah, you mean him and Glockta?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of just like doesn't really happen.
It's kind of like you get this instead of it just being Glockta, basically him and fucking Artie planning everything, and then Giselle is a co-conspirator of sorts, but kind of has to be left in the dark because of the kind of person he is, whether or not he's trying to be immoral or because he doesn't understand or because he might let it slip.
And
now
I really,
you have
yeah, exactly.
Like
but who
West.
would he let it slip to? Like
Probably West.
Baez. Like if he doesn't know about West and Glockta's plans, he can't betray anything to Baez.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's why Giselle is definitely brought in under the plans, but very limitedly. He seems to know that he's been brought in to a limited degree, and he's okay with that. But with West, I also feel like because Giselle and West would have a much more healthy relationship after they were in that state, so the nation would be just ran better, because with West Council worrying about logistics and how things are actually run, that would put more pressure on Glockta. And yes, Baez would still overrule them and be like, this is what we're going to do. But at the same time, it wouldn't just be Glockta running the nation. It would be the three of them, because West would be like a go-between for them, almost, in a way.
I think that's absolutely it. Like, West is just an incredible influence over this situation. And it's the same with all of the other what-ifs that we've done. There's just so many possibilities.
So to go down the rabbit hole a bit, I would think that... Go ahead, George.
So what's the next stage? Where do we go after the trilogy is ended?
Well, yeah, right. So we have to go into like the events after Last Argument of Kings, right? Breath of Cold, Heroes, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would... As a little note here, is that the kind of relationships that we'd have, right? We talked about them having that relationship. West has this little communication with the nurse. What's her, Caspa's cousin, the rich one.
Aris?
He's like, oh, Aris. Hey, he's like, oh, she's nice, and she's like all nice to him. I would imagine they might hit it off. You never know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, just a little.
Giselle just becomes the most mediocre man ever.
Yeah. And in the end, and even more interesting is just to think about how West and Artie would have a full-on relationship. Their kids possibly would interact with each other, and how that would affect Giselle's children. And obviously, it's too unpredictable there. I just find it as an interesting thought.
And that is incredible that just that one character surviving just makes a completely different story.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good gardening there. It's good gardening.
Good gardening.
So, Jeff, as we get to Best of Cold, what do you think would happen with West being alive? I'm not sure too much would change, just simply because West being alive at that point.
Yeah, nothing really changes at that point. Giselle still goes to Cardati's and, gets smoked out by Monza.
So hot. It's just a hot scene.
Yeah, right. But then I think when the Heroes comes about, Baez is still going to make him... He's still going to push for this whole war to go about. I don't know if it changes too much in the Heroes.
Well, for one thing, West would fucking swipe the Northman away in about 10 seconds.
Not 10 seconds, bro. It's still blacked out.
It's still blacked out.
Still black fucking Dow.
And there's still there's still a connection there, because don't forget, Dow's the one that named him in the fashion of the North, called him Furious.
Yeah, but he's furious.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, here's the thing: West is a good general, right? But he's also he doesn't have. I mean, at that point, he's probably going to be just peak, right? Heroes time, he's going to be very good. But I'm not convinced that he is going to be insanely better than Croy. Not because
Mhm.
he's a better general, but because of the same reasons Croy was limited by
Right.
Mead's, vulnerability of being emotional,
Mhm.
by the logistics of the North, by the close council, by Baez being there breathing down his neck. The big
Mhm.
difference, I think, would actually come from the fact that instead of there being Midoric on that side over there being a pain in the ass, it
Mhm.
would be Croy who would be
Hmm.
right in line
With West.
with West, yes, and they would be much better coordinated
Exactly.
and far more effective as a team, um, because they wouldn't
West
be
has
fighting
that
against each
one
other.
thing, doesn't he? He has control over people because he knows that he shouldn't be there, so he has to exert as much control over people as possible.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So he really does. Even in the situation where he steps up in before they're hanged in the Battle of Dunbreck, when Burr has his
Vomiting
fit,
episode.
yeah, his episode, yeah, and he just takes control, but he doesn't know how, but he does it the right way anyway.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I don't. If West, he would have to tread carefully, right? He can't make them. I don't want to say mistake, but the decision making process has to be different than Croy's, because then if he follows that same pattern of thought, then he gets ousted. Baez ousts. He kicks him out and puts in Mineric,
Well, I
right?
think
So.
here's where the real change comes in.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
this is all. I'm about to go down a rabbit hole here, so
Go for
stop
it.
me if I rant
Go
too
for it,
long.
Go
bruh.
for it.
All right, so this is where the big thing happens. So at the end, West will stop it, but the difference is that Baez cannot fire West. West is way too popular with everybody, with the people, with the army, with Galacta, with Jazao. He's too much of he. Baez is quote unquote all powerful in the Union, but he's actually not. It is shown multiple times that he is actually limited by what the common people like, what the army likes, blah blah blah. So Croy, because at this time West is a national hero. He won the Battle of Adua. He's done all this stuff. He's crazy. He's amazing. And now he's beaten the Northmen. He's too good. And so whenever he calls for peace, Bias does not fire Croy. He can't, not yet. And we go into
Do you not think
the.
he would just have West assassinated?
Hang on,
Yeah.
I'm getting there, boys.
Okay. All
I'm
right. All
getting
right. All right.
because immediately after they fight the war in the north, they have to go straight to Styria to fight that first war. Now, West and Croy versus Monza is a far more reliable situation than Midoric and what's his face fighting Monza. Now, I
Hmm.
don't think because of Monza's reputation, because she has the home field, I don't think she would win, but I don't think the Union would either. I think this would turn into a very weird, awkward stalemate where Monza cannot beat the Union on the field just because of the numbers that they have, and because she's still trying to unite the nation. But she also cannot be beaten. Like she can't be pinned down and beaten. She's almost like Bethod, right? She can't be pinned down anywhere she goes. They can't beat her directly because she is also an amazing strategist and she has a home field advantage. So we end up going into a stalemate rather than a full on loss for the Union. Now, here, I think, because they know they needed West, is where I think West is undoubtedly still die. Because Baez is going to be like, okay, West is way too much in a prime position. He is now he has the excuse to kind of get rid of West because he didn't win the war in Syria. That's what I think
So can
happened.
I produce a different opinion
Take.
here?
Counter
Go for
argument.
it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Why wouldn't Baez pick West as his second hand man instead of Glockter?
Because West is not as smart as Glockta, and he's already set
And
Glockta up, who knows everything.
Mm.
Baez never met West, if I'm not mistaken.
But the power is with the army, really.
No,
Yeah,
the
but
power
the
is
way,
behind closed doors.
yeah, like the way Baez treats the Lord Marshals is like their
Yeah,
authority,
and
their
look where
power
it
is.
bites him in the ass.
Yeah, In a way, yeah, but I mean, like, think about it. For him, how Baez treats him, and what we see in the books, their authority, their power in the close council is really nominal until it comes to like, okay, battlefield time.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly. No,
so
but that's the thing, right? When society collapses and all of that illusion of power kind of disappears, it comes down to who's got the knife, eh?
Well, that's the thing though, is that Baez's that's what Galacta wants is chaos. And but Baez would wants order. He doesn't want the union to break up. He gets his power from the banks, from there being non-chaos in terms of, inside of the union itself.
Okay.
And him having now, don't get me wrong, I see what you're saying. Him having West because he is more popular with the people, but Galacta doesn't want somebody who's popular with the people because West is too good of a man. He wouldn't do the stuff that Baez wants him to do.
That's
Baez
true.
is
That's
like
true.
fucking kill everybody in the dark. Get rid of all opposition. Make sure we win.
And
Galacta's
Glock's the only
well,
person that's twisted enough to do that.
Yeah.
yeah,
love it.
but I mean,
I love
think
it.
about it. I mean, Baez.
Even the guy who beats his sister is not twisted enough to do Baez's dirty work.
It's true. I mean, it's
Yeah,
people are
it's-
twisted in different ways.
Yeah, but think about it, for Baez, he doesn't think small picture. He always thinks big picture, right? That's why he doesn't care about grinding the army down. He doesn't care about putting his own country, the one that he founded, into crippling debt. Not thinking what it will, what it will incur in terms of like the populace, the common people's like response to that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we're getting into a big argument called utilitarianism, which is a whole nother video.
No, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think West necessarily dies due to the Styrian War or wars. I just think that this is a difficult one.
No, yeah. What do you think would happen, Jeff? If West goes in to fight Styria, I don't think they would. Like I said, I really don't think they would lose, but I don't think they would still beat Monza. I don't think that would happen. But
Well, think about it. If in Baez's eyes, a stalemate is a loss.
right, exactly what I
So-
mean. Right, but to the people of the Union, it's not exactly a loss.
I mean, if you,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. If you just out there dying for nothing, if you're out there, if your family members are out there dying for nothing, the common people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
I'm saying compared to what happened in the previous wars, where they lost 3 wars in a row, like lost, not like oh it was a stalemate, but everyone says they lost.
Wow, guys, I'm just realizing how relatable this is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a war going on somewhere in the world, and we're all paying for it.
Yeah, always.
Wow.
One sec, guys. Guys, I'm sorry. That's a good point. I just have to let my dogs out.
That was okay.
Doggies.
Dogs.
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 Dogs. Bark, bark. Bark, bark.
Do you guys think that West would live though, even with his position, with Baez in charge still? Knowing where
Not for
he's
long.
at, I don't think he would live that long.
No.
But I think the consequences are still set from him living.
I think it's a happy accident for Baez that he dies.
Yes, it is.
Because West could be a force for good.
Yeah.
And he is one of the tragic characters because even though he's set up as being, this sort of horrible domestic abuser, we all deep down when we're reading him, we know that he becomes better and becomes somebody that is a force for good.
I don't see why he necessarily even would kill West. Like, think about it. He would either remove him from power or not. It's as simple as that. And maybe the whole thing where like the army completely is behind West, because who wouldn't be, right? From the army's point of view, like no one they don't know West's personal history with his sister and everything. But to them, West is he's a commoner risen up to the highest position that he can, be, etc., and he cares about his men. He tries to put them in positions that they're not needlessly dying. I mean, maybe that might like, I don't know. It's hard to describe because I don't even know like who by the time.
That's what I mean. In that first 5 years, I think West could get quite a gathering, like from his soldiers who've seen him fight.
He needs to be entrenched. Glockton would tell him like, "Well, Baez is running the show, actually, et cetera, et cetera." Giselle tell him the same thing. And then we don't by the time Age of Madness rolls around, we don't really know like what happened with like how Midoric either retired, got ousted, etc., and whoever
I
else
guess
is
he
next.
fucked up the wars in Styria.
Yeah, but I mean, really, like Monza's a beast. So, is it really getting like you fucking
Is
it up,
she
or
though?
is it just, huh?
Nothing. That's another video.
I'm just saying, say what you want, like I don't know, but Monza, from all accounts and purposes, is a beast of a general, a tactician, strategist. So
You a
I
devil
think,
in you.
yeah. So I don't know if if Baez is encumbering the army's abilities by forcing them to be like, okay, you need to take this position, you need to take this town, this city, this fortress, and you need to do it now, instead of like maybe letting West take his time to marinate and come up with a strategy, or whatever have you. I don't like it's really difficult because the way Baez is portrayed to us from the first trilogy to the standalone trilogy to the Age of Madness, sometimes it feels like different presentations. So
Sides to
not
him.
necessarily, huh?
It's like the different sides. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Baez
I
has
don't know.
had thousands and thousands of years to like cultivate a conversation, but we're getting off track anyway.
We are.
This
I'm
is
just trying to
a
think
topic
like what
for
would happen.
another video.
I'm just trying to think what would his ultimate position be? Like, would he be privy to the whole Breakers and Burners rebellion and everything? What you guys don't think he even makes it that long?
Well, so if we think about this, the Heroes is 8 years after that, and then I assume the war would probably last a season or two. So assuming West lives 10 more years, and to be clear, we'll get into it in a minute, but there are consequences for him being in the place that he is at, doing the things that he's done already. I just don't see how a man in his position, being such a good person, well, not such a great person, but being a good person, having the goodwill of so many people, that Baez would want to keep him around. Just like he stayed with the Heroes, right? Like, okay, I'm not gonna fire him over this because just obeying me, but finally, okay, stalemate in a war. I can finally kind of get rid of him when he's in his low period. Silently kill him at night, fucking eat him. Who knows? He runs away. The real consequence, I think, would be how the other characters would react to Wes dying.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? He's so influential at this point in our little kind of fucking mad theory that we've going on, that him just suddenly disappearing, suddenly dying, knowing that he's a careful, very cautious man, it's just very suspicious. So this would be the kind of thing that buyers would kind of want to avoid, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be very, very difficult for buyers to get rid of him at any point.
Right.
Which is what I mean when I said that it's a happy accident that he died from the sickness that he didn't really know that he was going to make.
Right. Like Baez wouldn't kill him. I don't think Baez would kill him. I think Baez would force him to take a retirement like he did to Croy.
Yeah, he might do that, actually. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think he would kill Wes. I don't think you don't need to.
It's all bureaucracy in the union.
Yeah, I don't see Wes dying from Baez. I see Wes dying from a fucking blown gasket. You know what I mean? I don't.
No, that actually makes it, even more interesting, I think, because if he lives, then he still plays a minor part in the story. So, he's like the war hero, right? So when we get into like Age of Madness, obviously Monza's going to win those next 2 wars, but obviously the consequence of that means that Croy has not been dismanned, or he has not been gotten rid of, and Croy is much better than the other people in charge. I think by the time we get to the Heroes, Brenton's still not in charge. I don't know if it's Croy. I don't think it'd be, because I think he'd be too old by that point.
Well, Brent's not in charge by the time of the Heroes. That's Jallenhorn.
Not the Hero. My bad. I'm sorry. The Age of Madness.
Red Country. Oh, Age of Madness. Gotcha.
And Red Country as well, yeah.
Well, I think he's a general in Red Country. And
he shows up in like a weird stage play kind of scene.
No, he does, but he's a general. I don't think he's a Lord Marshal at that point.
Okay.
I could be wrong. But I don't think so.
Well, we'll have to settle that on the battlefield, Jeff.
On the battlefield.
So I think that's good, Jeff. I think if him living makes more sense too, anyways. Because you're right, he wouldn't, just like with Croy, it doesn't suit him to kill him. It's just is going to be better if he's not in that position of power. Kind of forces him into retirement. Now that doesn't mean he doesn't still play a role in the Age of Madness, because yes, we can't exactly tell the differences for how their children, if they have children, might react, or how Wes would affect Savine. She would have that uncle, that more morally positive force in her life compared to the super depressing life that is Glockta and Artie. Cynical, I mean. We don't know how she would react to that. We don't
Jab,
know how...
Savine. Jab.
Jab. How, if he does get with Caspa's cousin and Eris, how that would affect them, and definitely how it would affect Orso. So those relationships is very hard to tell too far down the line. I would say everybody would probably be a bit happier because they would have.
This is the good ending where Orso doesn't die.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yes.
Though.
Yes.
I think this is it. West surviving is the best thing that could ever happen in the First War universe.
Do you know what would happen? Here's where I think it gets kind of cool. Is whenever they put that Crown Princess division together, he doesn't bring up Forrest. He fucking pulls his uncle back into it. He's like, Uncle, do you think you could lead my army? And West would be like, loyal soldiers in a time like this, I know the plan. Abso-fucking-lutely. Bias is away. Okay. I think that would be a super interesting change to the ending, is because instead of it being Forrest kind of in that position, it'd be West, who would also have the support of a lot more people. I think Orso would be in a much stronger position with West by his side than he would being alone, basically.
Do you think West would be so eager to go against Savine, his own niece?
That's where it gets hard, because is Savine going to be in the same kind of person she is, where she's this power hungry, with somebody like West who is kind of like, hey honey, I know you're Papa's sensitive boy, but like a cynical boy, but life is a little different than that. There are some good things.
Maybe West is like, hey, maybe don't pork Orso. There's a reason there being.
Maybe he would. He'd be like,
yeah, he'd probably be like, yeah. By the way, you guys are brother and sister. Just say, you know.
Yeah,
by the way, the fact that Glockta is Archlector, and he's quote unquote Savine's father. The fact that he doesn't have her tailed, at least, and like somebody doesn't come up to him and be like, hey, but the point where he's like, Savine's like over here, straddling Orso here and there, like Glockta might be like, oh, this is not a good thing. Like, the fuck?
Well, probably because because if he told Zeri or Ishri or whatever and was like, hey, by the way, here's the inner workings of the palace, I think Ishri would be like, I don't think you should do that, or Zeri or whatever. But I don't think there's no reason for him to tell her that. Why would that be no knowledge? So then she's just like, oh yeah, he's sleeping with somebody,
Yeah. If only Savine and Orso could have been like the Targaryens. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, just do it, bro. Just do it.
It would have saved our prince.
So we can kind of wrap this whole what if up with this entire time. Wes is just glaring at Giselle, just like, I told you not to fuck my sister. But he can't do anything about it.
You son of a bitch! I warned you!
Alright everyone, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about this theory. I know this is more of a, how does this relationship affect these people? But that's what makes the what if so fun, because there's different aspects to each of them. So let us know what you guys think. Of course, follow, comment, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. Get in social medias.
And we've got a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
Yes, and the website. Thank you, George.
Yeah, please go there.
Please. Okay. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.